What if the next promotion isn't a title, but a toolkit? What if your edge is not competing with AI, but directing it? Stick with us.
Views, stories, and ideas shared on Generations in Conversation are based on our personal experiences, research, and honest curiosity. We are not licensed therapists, medical professionals, or trained theologians. The conversations on this podcast are not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you need mental health, medical, or spiritual guidance, please seek support from qualified professionals. We aim to share, learn, and grow together, but always encourage you to take care of yourself and consult trusted experts when needed.
Before we talk about the future of work, here's the present. In 2025, global employers say technology will be the most disruptive force in the labor market, reducing some roles while creating others. And many expect workforce reductions where tasks can be automated. Yet, at the same time, millions of new roles are projected in data, green transitions, and care economies. The picture isn't doom, it's direction. That's from the World Economic Forum's Future Jobs Report 2025. And the report actually puts numbers to it. Roughly 170 million new jobs projected by 2030, 92 million displaced, for a net of plus 78 million overall.
And in Nairobi, we can already feel it. Our customer service agents that used to hire hundreds, if not thousands, have really started to adopt technology and shift over to having an AI answer your WhatsApp chats, your Instagram queries, your Facebook messages before you actually ever touch a human. And it's not sci-fi. That's creative destruction happening live and direct.
So, what stays and what changes? First, the signal. Employers are asking for more analytical, creative, and interpersonal skills because those are hardest to automate. That's a key theme across the Future of Jobs 2025 findings by the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, but the gap still stands where in McKinsey's 2025 workplace analysis, they say about 92% of companies plan to increase AI investment in the next 3 years, but only 1% are truly AI mature. I think I also saw that around 3% of these kind of integrations and projects are really bearing fruit, as was the expectation. So the tech is mostly there. The people are willing, but the leadership models are lagging.
Mm-hmm. And LinkedIn's AI at Work 2025 shows AI literacy is fast becoming a baseline, not a bonus, for hiring and advancement. If you can orchestrate AI at work, you are already speaking tomorrow's language. Now, let me say today's language.
That is true.
Because it's already here.
And it is happening. I mean, taking where I came from, I was primarily a human prompter, and still am, but framing questions, sparking the team ideas and thinking, and keeping things within the bounds and the realms of our capacity and our time was what took up most of my day and most of my time. And now these models are drafting reports, are drafting product requirement documents, are drafting tickets for tasks in seconds. But I wasn't replaced. I was upgraded. I can now design workflows. I can evaluate the outputs. I can really spend time questioning and challenging the ethics. It is a very similar story, but many new instruments.
Interesting, because in our last episode also you talked about doing things at lightning speed, even writing code. That in a few seconds you can have what used to take you
A week at best. I mean, just recently I was with my flatmate, and he was talking to his significant other about an idea that she's working on, and in seconds, instead of kind of going back and forth about the idea, put a prompt in, and a web page that was interactive was up and loaded, and boom, the idea clicked.
What do you mention? And sometimes, of course, we digress here and there. But you mentioned then, of course, this frees you up, maybe to do a higher level cognitive work, thinking, more analysis, or some of the things that we just mentioned. Even sharpening your interpersonal skills, maybe asking yourself, how then do I take this and humanize it so that it is palatable
Indeed.
to maybe prospective clients, customers,
Stakeholders. Yes.
Right?
Yes, indeed. And I think that is quickly becoming one of the most important parts of our new language that we have to speak. Is we used to have to translate ourselves to others. And now we have, an extra speech processor that we now have more ability to translate more things. But still that humanization aspect, making it so that when I'm communicating, it is the most effective, efficient, and clear. And I guess we'll get into and digress into language a little bit later, but
Hence, yes, large language models.
Yes,
it's all about language.
Indeed. And that's, I think, most of what our collaboration is.
Is there life really without language?
No, and it's not only speech. We have body language. Our bodies pick up on all sorts of things, chemical imbalances or balances. There's a language that the birds speak, that we speak when we're in our cars by swerving or flashing lights. And the way that we interpret that language, as well as direct that language, is becoming more and more pertinent and important. It already was.
So you're telling me also there's no thought without language. So and there's no feel. Really, we don't know how to feel without, I'm feeling hungry, for example. Or I am angry. That is language. Emotions, life. It's something that we'll explore. But the pattern that we are seeing is interesting, right?
Yeah.
Tasks change first, roles adapt next, and identity evolves last. The risk isn't disruption, really. The risk is not adapting.
Yeah, because the disruption is happening faster than I think any of us can even keep up with.
So if you don't adapt, you die?
You die. No, that is, and it has been true time immemorial. So
Yeah, in our future segments, we'll be talking about tradition in the difference between serving a tradition and honoring a tradition,
Mm.
and why serving tradition actually might work against us, right? Because times change, right? And traditions are developed a certain way. And so if we hold on to this rigid thinking, oh, I'm going to continue doing business as usual, then we don't adapt. And if we don't adapt again, we die, right?
Correct.
That's interesting. And also in our feature segment, I'm just plugging here a little bit. We will be talking about two things. Um, are we cultural by default, or are we cultural by design? Is our culture by default, sorry, or is it that we design? Where does one start, and where does the other one end? Right? Very good.
Fantastic.
So it's not just what we do, right? It is how we coordinate. And I would like for you at one point to talk about Web3 introduced DAOs, machine readable governance for teams without a single boss, right? Not a silver bullet, just new infrastructure for transparent decisions and micro bounties.
Yes, DAOs. And what are those? Those are decentralized, autonomous organizations. Why is this, I think, so critical and important for us today? In our workforce, these, we call them BS jobs, are being automated. They're being augmented. They're being completely flipped upside down on their heads. And what we are learning about ourselves, and what I've learned about myself as well in this, is there are a couple things that people really care about. They care about having meaningful work, having impact in the work that they do. They care about really exercising their skills and their competencies. They care about fair remuneration and transparency. They care about ensuring that, you know, they can make a change. They have impact within the organization that they're working with. And the classic hierarchical structures that we've had for quite a long time do not serve that purpose the same way anymore. When I was in Y Combinator in 2021, we were invited into the Orange DAO. Got a little orange token. It's in one of my crypto wallets. And that was my first real expose into a DAO. And it was really interesting because you have an overall mission, an overall goal. But like you said, there's no boss. We meet, we discuss, we say, okay, these are the things that we need to get done. What does that effort look like? What are the skills and competencies needed? Okay, that's done. We know what we need to do, where we're going. So who's doing what? Oh, I'll do this. I have 3 hours this week. Okay, I'll do that. I have 4 hours next week, or 10 hours. Or actually, I'm on sabbatical, but this is interesting. Let me spend 10, 20 hours a week ticking these things off. And for everything that you get done, there is a record in your blockchain, in the blockchain, which means you can't go back and erase it. You can't ask somebody else to punch in your time card. You can't fill out and say that you did something that you didn't do. It's evidence based. And what comes with that is, one, your visible impact. You get to see, oh, I am making this change, as well as the micro bounties. As I get these things done, I am remunerated, or I get some sort of benefit, not always monetary, from this. And I think as we head into this age where automation and the direction of automation is going to be a primary competency or a primary skill, the fundamental ideas around a DAO and how we collaborate together will become more and more important.
This is very interesting. Absolutely. In the sense, in the sense that I'm imagining, right? As you said, contributors from all over Africa. Let's say some in Nairobi.
There actually is a DAO when we're doing the Jesus Tech Hackathon by one of my really good friends. One of the guys on Team Purple, best team. His name is Fabian, and he had actually started a DAO that week. There was a DAO that he had previously been involved with, and they had people in Nigeria, in Zambia, in Ghana. It was truly in South Africa. It was truly Pan-African, and the new DAO as well is on a similar vein.
Wow. Well, Kenya has leapfrogged before, right? Mobile money, right? And this, I mean, listen, we were in the US at the time, and I came here and I found this thing working, and I could transfer money to my grandma on a phone, right? In fact, America was stuck in, the dark ages when it came to that. Kenya was way ahead, right? And we've unfortunately been there for a long time. We still glory in what happened.
Oh man,
how many years ago?
Oh, we're heading to what, 15 years? Actually, past 15 years,
yeah,
heading
20,
on to 20.
20,
yeah,
more than 20 years. Yes.
Yeah, 20 years minus 2.
Yes, minus 2.
Yeah.
Right. And we're still, it's still really very useful. I mean,
indeed. And I mean, it's still blowing the world's mind.
Yes,
we've
absolutely.
had Harvard case studies. We've had Yale case studies. We've had so many references to this. However,
yeah, with intention, this thing that we're talking about can be our next leap, right? But this has to be intentional. We have to have a policy, maybe environment that actually, in many ways, spurs this thing. People think when you hear of the US as Silicon Valley, people think, oh, it emerged on its own or organically. No, the government of the USA played a key role. In fact, there's a book, we'll put some of these resources. There's a book that's been written about the origins of the Silicon Valley and the role of the US government, right? Technology does not just happen in a vacuum.
No.
It happened in the 2000s at that time, early 2000s in Kenya, in part because there was an environment that allowed for it, and actually that incentivized this. So I look forward to the next leap.
It's going to be, fantastic. And there's some things to consider when we get into this leap. As we know, Kenya's informal economy is massive. It is multiple times the formal economy. The stat that we like to reference is formally employed people in Kenya is 3 million.
Yep.
We have over 30 million people who are of the age, working age, and able to have formal employment. And when you see Kenyans are busy. So we have the opportunity now to not import tools, but to build our own tools. I think I have many discussions with Jasmine on, what is...
Who is Jasmine?
That is my fiance as of now. We'll see what happens by the time this episode is released. Brilliant lady. And she doesn't quite like the term leapfrogging. But I think the main issue is when you try and leapfrog, what you end up doing, or what the risk you have is that you import tools without context. And when you import these tools, you import the problems. When you leapfrog, there is still fundamental work that must be done.
To contextualize, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
To bring it into your culture, into your environment. Like we say, the times change. And the times change in different places differently. So what might work for Ethiopia, and this is where it gets interesting for me in the work that I've been doing, is thinking that, you see Pan-Africanism and you think, if I can get this to work in Ethiopia, I can get it to work in Kenya, I can get it to work in Uganda, get it to work in Tanzania. Every market is so unbelievably different. The nuances, the policies, the mindsets of the people. I was a little bit late today, and we were speaking about me being on Nigerian time, and I countered with, what about Ugandan time? And there's these really interesting differences. It's not just one big place, and you take that into the world as well. And what does that mean? That means we really do need to build locally. Small, even micro businesses, co-pilots, things that help our tools along. Local language, ad advice, fraud detection, for SACCOs, for lending companies, for building companies and agencies. We really need to create a resilient and dignified environment. There are, I think, a couple people who are, several people truly, who are working on this. But in that specific AI vein, I think of a great man I met called Brian Omenga, who's working on Think It. And this is a local language model, a model of models that has currently, or the last time we spoke, I think 13 local vernaculars. So not just your Kiswahili Sanifu that Google Translate gives you, and you read it and say, I never heard a sentence constructed like this in my life, but rather the real intonations, the use of the language, how we structure our sentences, and things like this are what will take us into this next leap.
Yeah, in the future of jobs, 2025 data supports that twin reality: disruption and creation. It also flags skills instability. About 39% of current skill set will change by 2030, or even sooner. Sometimes we say 2030. But as we know now, things are not changing linearly, but exponentially.
Moore's law.
And it names skills gap, this future of jobs 2025 data. It names skill gaps as the biggest transformation barrier. 63% of employers say so, which is why 85% plan to prioritize upskilling, right? 2/3 plan to hire specific AI skills. These are global companies we're talking about. And 40% expect to reduce staff where tasks can be automated. Policy and leadership will decide who benefits. Now, back to leadership. The number that keeps me awake: 1% AI mature, even at 92%, as 92% invest more, right? This number keeps me awake. If leadership doesn't build new operating models, value gets stuck, very stuck, like in the mud. Here in Kenya, we know that what that means.
Mm-hmm.
In pilots, right? Again, this number, 1% AI mature, even as 92% invest more.
Yeah, this is, I think, a huge disparity where we've highlighted the technology's there, the willingness is there, the people are there. But have we moved our mindsets from the pre-AI age? We were in the information age, now we're in the generative age. Have we moved our mindset into this generative age? As Ethan Mollick picks out in Co-Intelligence, the win isn't human or machine. It's paired power. AI as a co-worker, a co-teacher, a coach, ensuring constantly and always that we keep our human values in the loop. There is a really, I think, amazing thing that we've seen. And back to the Signal and the Noise book, which is fantastic, that talks about the printing press and how books were in the past. They used to cost $20,000. And technology came and a book dropped its price, still quite pricey, to $100. And the mindset of information and writing things down, as well as the mindset that we had around our local stories and languages and legends changed. This is a 10x jump of that, where we need to shift ourselves from this point of, sorry, lost my train of thought there. Yeah.
Very cool. Printing press, right? We started with papyrus, the bark, right? And the written word was like the living word, right? Today, yes, we still write, but it's not on anything that is physical material like paper, right? And that has really completely changed the industry. Not the industry, even our thinking, right? I still find myself really stuck, even when I'm writing a simple message to you. I want to have all these things correct. I want to have, it's as if this thing, but there's still value in that. I don't know. Maybe I'm still stuck in the Neolithic period. So here's your 1 week challenge, right? Pick 3 workflows. Pair people and AI. Measure, if you can, time saved, errors reduced, quality improved. Share the learning. That's how fluency starts. You have to get your hands dirty. You have to try it out. It is messy at first, right? You don't just wake up and speak fluently, right? I still struggle to speak. In fact, sometimes I have to practice certain things over and over again. And then, I become a little bit better, right? Even for that moment, right? Fluency takes practice.
Indeed. And that repetition, I go back to when I learned how to drive manual cars. The first time, there was a cacophony of smells and sounds going on. Clutches burning, engine stalling. It wasn't pretty. It was jerky. It wasn't smooth. If anyone had car sickness, they probably would have thrown up in the first few seconds. And then I tried again. The second time I got in the car, a little bit better. The third time I got in the car, even better. Nearly 10 years later, and I don't think about it. I don't have to put my cognitive load into shifting the gears or pressing the clutch. Now I'm scanning the road. I'm deciding on where I want to go. And I think it's a very similar process that we should take on ourselves to put our foot in the door. It might get jammed the first time, and that's okay. But we keep iterating, we keep growing, and sooner than you think, you will be doing things that you wouldn't think possible even 1 week ago.
That's very interesting. So I'm thinking about you can read all about driving.
Yes.
You can even actually drive in a simulator.
Correct.
But when you try it in actuality, it is different. It is messy. But reading about it, thinking about it, will not get you there. You have to jump in that water to learn how to swim, right? And it is possible to learn.
So, what's next? What is coming next? Where these models are heading, we have in the most recent drop, ChatGPT 5. It is agentic. We're talking planning multi-step tasks, tool calling, and checking itself, really self-evaluation. We have it now as a multimodal thing. So whether it's text, image, audio, video, and moving closer and closer on device and becoming more efficient at certain tasks on your device. So that's more privatization, more security, more personalization, more customizability as well. It's getting safer and better grounded. One of the favorite people who I like to watch, I'm a big nerd, if you guys didn't know already, is a guy called Theo. He was a front-end engineer at Twitch and has since started several of his own companies. And he has a benchmark for AI because what we fear a lot is this term called misalignment, where the AI's goals and value and reward system doesn't align with our human goals and value and reward system. So he built something called Snitch Bench. This is how likely is an AI model to, when given the right tools, tell on you to the government, to an employer, on just social media in general. And this was quite a concern when Claude, is it 4? Yes, 4 Sonnet dropped, and the 4.0 and 4.1 models dropped. It was in the 80s or 90s in terms of it wanting to blackmail or, snitch. Yet you get to ChatGPT 5, and even when it was almost given the direct express command, it got a 0.1% chance of this. So we are moving faster and better in a more aligned direction, where our directives and how we direct the AI will be more and more important. And I just think, it's a really, really special time to be able to interact with this kind of technology and upskill ourselves.
Yeah, earlier on you mentioned you're a nerd. I believe I'm a bit like that. And sometimes we speak in this obtuse manner, and we have a lot of jargon, and sometimes some of the stuff we talk about is inaccessible. Not to say people are not intelligent, but every group of people have their own jargon.
That's true.
Right? And they speak. So can you humanize this? And I'll say this very quickly, that the game is here isn't novelty, something that is the new shiny object. That It's not this fashionable thing that and Kenyans like fashion. Actually, I walk around and I can see, Kenyans really, really, really like their fashion.
Indeed.
And in fact, if you look at the stalls around, most of them, it's not even food. Yes, there's a lot of food, but clothes.
Indeed.
Kenyans love their fashion, but we're not talking about that, right? The next new thing. It's workflow design that amplifies what only humans do best, what we do best. One of our superpowers as humans is empathy.
Mm.
And I think that has, in many ways, enabled us to have certain constraints and restraints in terms of excesses that may, in some ways, wipe out humanity. Because you think, oh, what if it was me? Sometimes we how would I feel about that? Judgment, right? We make judgments, right? The AI may not have empathy, right? And you said there were a lot of concerns about snitching and things like that. Integrity as a value, right? A societal value. Trust, right? In fact, without trust, I don't think we as humans and even primates can function, right? If I know that you are always out to get me every time, right? I don't trust you. I wouldn't be able to relate to you. We wouldn't be able to function well as a society. Yes, we need external constraints in terms of laws. We need policies. We need all those kinds of things. But also, in the end, I want to know, at least, I can trust some folks, right? This is what we do best. This is humanity.
Mm.
So before we give folk, our listeners, some sort of moves or assignments
Mhm.
to try and do. And by the way, all this will be in our notes, so that you can you can refer to them and try things out. All the references that we make in our notes as well, so you can go and read for yourself and educate yourself further. But we add a little bit of humanity here, because when you talked about snitching and that concern, yeah, man, we don't like snitches.
No, it's like you're saying, it's one of the biggest betrayers of trust. It can destroy trust almost immediately. And I think to humanize it, the way I like to think about my AI that I direct is, it's like I have a toddler. Toddlers are learning and interacting so quick, but a super genius level toddler. They don't necessarily understand the consequences of these actions, what the outputs will be, what the outcomes will be, rather. And if you had a super intelligent, genius level toddler that could write a report, that could analyze thousands of lines of data, write code, coach you on how to better communicate, how would you handle or interact with them? You would be quite cautious. You would be as correct or as precise as you can. Because again, while you're going through these experiments and testing these workflows out for yourself, you'll see that a small change in your prompt language yields massive results, or massive errors. And I think we really need to start focusing on what makes us important in this process, in working together and collaborating with this technology. I hope that humanizes it a little bit.
Yeah, very good. And earlier on, just before we started this episode, you mentioned something quite interesting about job applications and the role.
Oh man,
Yeah, I'm curious to hear about this because
Yes,
again, this is humanizing this thing and actually exemplifying, if you please, the impact it has.
indeed. Yes. So currently, we have every year more and more graduates than ever. I think in your time when you were graduating from college, it was maybe 3,000 a year, 5,000 a year. And now we're in tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people graduating every year. And the common process, and this throws a lot of the older generation into a loop, was you go to school, you do an internship while you're in school, test out some things, and then when you're out of school, you have a job and you work there for a few years, move up to a next position, maybe go for your masters to specialize a little bit deeper, and you kind of keep moving up the chain or the ladder, maybe doing some lateral movements to other companies within the realm, if there's a better offer. Today is the lowest it has been for graduates getting job placements. It's been actually the lowest that it's been for even experts to get placements that pay the same or higher. We are now in an age where people are going through up to 400 on average. This is a U.S. statistic. Job applications before they actually get a role or a position. However, some of the early adopters, some of the more creative, or let me not say more creative, but first movers have found services where you have an AI that can coach you. You're able to put in the job description, the company. It'll go and find other people who are there, what they were hired for, there's core skills and competencies, and it will give you a mock interview. And you can practice. It'll review your CV and help you make the right edits and changes. So instead of kind of trying to beat the wall down manually, get a jackhammer or a very precise laser that helps you pinpoint where you want to be and placed and how you do this. And again, you still have to swim, you still have to do this practice, you still have to edit and adjust. But it is, yes, making it in some ways difficult, but in other ways, it is opening up a much, much more fluid, much more clear and concise way for you to find where you want to be placed and what you want to do.
Wow. So, I just, as you know, I just came back from Meru,
Mm.
um, and I had some interactions with different people. And there's a young lady who stays there in Meru with my dad, who takes care of him because my dad is 93 years old. He needs some support. And she's going to attending Kenya Methodist University on a part-time basis. She wants to get her degree in community health, but also the demands on her small income that she's getting are so high, and because also her relatives, her parents, her mom needs a lot of support, medical support, and things like this. And she was talking to me about what do I think about extra income? Is it possible to say write a business plan? What's working in Kenya? What do people need in Kenya? What do they consume in Kenya? And I said write a business plan. I said, do you have DeepSeek on your? And I'm not, I'm not here. We're not sponsored.
Not affiliated.
We're not affiliated. So I said, download DeepSeek on your phone. Let's do a business plan, including how you will do your market survey or a feasibility study, some people call it, and things. She was shocked because she wants to supply beauty products. right? There's a salon there. They make hair. There are barbers. These products are not. You have to go somewhere to purchase them. She wants to have them right there, and she sat there for about 30 minutes and did not say anything. And then she asked me, "Who is this?" Because I've never seen anything like that. The other conversation I had was very interesting. That's an example, personal, how really this thing can change your life, but you have to swim.
Yeah.
You have to jump in. The other one, and as I was telling you earlier, is my friends who are young lawyers, but maybe a bit your age or a little bit older than your age. And they were telling me about contracts, and you talked about blockchain and things like this. In our next episodes, we'll talk about how you can revolutionize contracting. You don't have to go the old way. I mean, that's so outdated. One of the guys told me, look, nowadays, we have no business doing contracts. People go to AI, they have their contracts drawn, and all they come to me for is a stamp. And they just pay $2,000 for that stamp. And he said to me, the contracts that they're bringing to us are way, way better than we could have imagined, right? And then we talked about something that these agents, how even in, let's say, criminal law, or trial.
Yes.
You can have these agents, one being your lawyer, one being the prosecutor, argue a case, right? And in fact, how this can put you as a lawyer, maybe a defense attorney, way, way ahead of the game, right? These are real personal kinds of things. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I think we are nerds, so we have to bring it home for people to understand. So Indeed. here we started this thing now in our second episode, third, and going forward. 5 moves for Monday, right? Because if you don't swim,
you sink.
You swing. Sink. If you don't try it out, you will never learn how to do it, right? So, number 1, learn the literacies: workflow design, prompt limits, data hygiene, tool evaluation. There is a link that we will share with you, LinkedIn's 2025 view. AI fluency is baseline. 2, redesign roles. Automate the routines, upscale humans for oversight and outcomes. Check that out, McKinsey and Company report. Also, number 3, you can pilot new coordination. Tari, you talked about DAOs, reputation systems, micro bounties for open collaboration. Again, we have a resource for you to look at. And don't forget, Gitari will tell you about the courses we offer down the line, right? That will be, I think, very practical and useful for you. Build Kenya-specific co-pilots or your local specific, whether you're in Nigeria, Ghana, wherever you are, right? Local language is important. We can speak English, but we have a vernacular English. And that, how we speak that and how we communicate with that is very, very different from, say, what you said about Uganda and Nigeria and all these other places. SME finance, logistics, agri advice, right? Check out the World Economic Forum 25 report. Also, what is not recorded is forgotten. Keep a workflows journal. We write a lot, right? So you can have a reference and say, oh, this is how far I've come. These are the problems that I've seen. What AI saves, right, as you go through this process. What AI breaks, because it'll break a lot. And what it enhances. So you can iterate with evidence.
I love those moves. And just a reminder, your edge isn't beating the AI. It's directing it with your taste, with your story, with your conscience. Today wasn't about fear. It was about fluency. Tools are here. The map is ours.
Indeed. And our next episode will be very interesting. Faith, doubt, and meaning in a machine world. We won't preach, I promise. We'll ask better questions.
Thanks for listening. And if this helped, subscribe, share, and tell us, what part of your work will you redesign? And what stays? We're here and we're listening. Hey there, podcasters. If you are wondering how our sound is as fantastic as it is, and how our episodes come to be, and you're looking for the best place to record, come to VoiceBox Studios in Karen, here in Nairobi. It has you covered. Brilliant rates, beautiful space, and really just the best sound team around. It's a perfect place to bring your podcast to life. Whether you're doing audio, visual, you need backdrops, you need props, they got it all. So come out and check out VoiceBox Studios. Their link is in our description, in the show notes. And yeah, come and get your stories told here.